Ms. Valentina Kassisieh is a Jordanian social activist and CEO of the Abdul Shoman Foundation. Please welcome to the panel here.
Welcome. أهلا وسهلا بجميع. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Your Royal Highness, Princess Sumaya bint Hassan, Chair of the Board of Trustees of PSUT, Your Excellency, Marianne Bolger, Ambassador of Ireland to Jordan, Professor Wejdan Abu Elhaija, President of PSUT. Distinguished audience, welcome to this panel discussion as part of our event, Impact of Women on STEM and Creative Inquiries. So, we were going to be highlighting women's role in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Allow me and share with me a round of applause to our panelists here and give them a big, warm Jordanian Irish welcome. I would like to thank you for allowing a man to share this panel with you. Okay, I will start with giving introduction about our panelists one by one. But I would like to also highlight and just to make sure that it's clear that the live stream right now is available on Facebook page of PSUT. It's going to be co-shared with the I welcome all online users who are joining us today. The panel will be divided into three categories: career achievement, women role in STEM and workforce challenges, and creativity in STEM, which is very important. Okay, let me start with Dr. Yvonne Kavanagh. Dr. Yvonne is a distinguished scientist in renewable energy and materials science. She has contributed groundbreaking research in sustainable energy solutions and is a dedicated advocate for women's inclusion in STEM fields. Dr. Kavanagh's work has inspired many young professionals to consider careers in scientific innovation. Welcome. I would like to ask, and this is going to be our major one, can you share a defining moment in your career that shaped your journey in STEM and how it has impacted your work or advocacy for women in these fields? Yes. Let me help you. مصطفى ممكن سامح معلش من تحت ولا من فوق ما نعرف. There we go. Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you. It's an honor to be here today, and thank you for the kind invitation to be here with your Princess Sumaya and Your Excellency, the Ambassador. My defining moments, there's lots of defining moments in my career. I guess from once I was a child up, I have been interested in physics. Physics was all I wanted. I loved it. It actually was a source for me to understand the world. So I could see how the world works, I could see why the world works, and there was always a basis there. But I always felt like I didn't belong. And you talked very much there, both of you, earlier about belonging. And it wasn't until I did my PhD, I went, while a PhD student, on thin film electroluminescent displays in Dublin City University. I went over to the US to the American Vacuum Society Key Conference in America. Now, as you can imagine, I wasn't really anticipating much over there. I just thought, well, you know, I'll go, I'll visit, I'll see, I'll present my paper and I'll go home. And I actually won an award there. I won the Buncher Award. So that was really a defining moment for me, because then I felt I belonged. I can do research, I can do world research, I can actually get awarded prizes on an international stage for this research. And that was very important to me because, again, as we have seen, a lot of people are there to say, oh, you can't do this, you're not able to do this, maybe you should think of something different. And that was one place where I felt, yes, I'm here, I'm at home. I own this space. I can contribute to humanity. I can contribute to the solutions of problems that we have today and make a better society for people tomorrow. So that was one of my defining moments for me as a career, once I was in my career.
Thank you so much. I will come back to you to highlight more on your work on renewable energy and materials research. So thank you. I would like to turn the microphone now to Professor Helen Roche. I want to highlight also that Professor Roche is a globally recognized expert in molecular nutrition and metabolism. And as the director of the UCD Conway Institute, she leads pioneering research in the relationship between diet, genetics, and disease prevention. This is very important. Professor Roche's work has significantly advanced the field of personalized nutrition, and she is committed to inspiring women to explore the intersection of science, health, and creativity. Welcome. We would like to hear your moment.
Okay. Firstly, Sabah El Kahir. Apologies for my Arabic. And firstly, I would like to thank you for the opportunity and the invitation to come to meet with you. My defining moment probably started very early on in my career. I trained initially as a dietitian, which is a clinical degree. And I was working as an intern in one of the university hospitals, and I met a patient. And that patient was very ill because she was dying of cancer. And I went in and I said, we're going to feed you and we're going to make you feel much stronger and much better. And the patient put her hand on my hand and said, no, thank you. And I said, no, but it's okay. We can put a tube in and we'll feed you and you will feel better. And the lady said, no, thank you. And I left that ward and I thought, we can do more. We can do far more. So I found a PhD where I learned more about nutrition, that's my field. And I wanted to learn more about genes and molecules and mechanism to define why does one person get colon cancer and another person doesn't. And how can we use our diet and our lifestyle to sort of interact with different drugs to make them work better. Because now only 30% of drugs work in either a cancer patient or a diabetes patient. And that's because we don't yet know or understand the interaction between dietary agent or drug agents and dietary agents. And that's the whole area of sort of personalized nutrition. Another defining moment was the fact that I had 3 wonderful mentors. And those wonderful mentors were members of the senior faculty in the School of Medicine, and they were all men. And they really saw potential in me. I didn't necessarily see it, but I was going for a very big interview with the Wellcome Trust, who are a charity who are based in London. And there was a panel of 12 people that I had to convince that my idea of nutrition and genome was important. And those 3 people coached me before that interview. And if I hadn't received that mentorship, I would not have had my career. And where I work now, the Conway Institute in UCD, it's a centre for biomedical research. It's some 100 scientists. And when I go to the coffee room, it is probable that I will not understand the language because it is a very multicultural, very diverse area. And really, thought and knowledge only happens with diversity because we have such complex problems. And it's only with that mix and that melange that really we can progress. And so that's why I was very delighted to come to meet with all of you. And thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to tackle on your work in personalized nutrition, since it's at the intersection of health and science. When we go deeper into our categories of the panel today, but allow me to introduce next Professor Siobhán McClean. She is a renowned microbiologist specializing in immunology and infectious diseases. Her pioneering work in vaccine development has gained international recognition, and she is deeply committed to mentoring women in science, emphasizing the importance of linking creativity with STEM to address global challenges. Welcome.
Shukran.
Fun.
Thank you for this wonderful invitation to come here today, and I think this is an amazing initiative that you have all organised, and it's wonderful to be part of it. So my defining moment in my career, well, there's a short vignette and then the defining moment. So when I was 15, I was in a secondary school just for girls, and beside us was we were in segregated schools. The girls went to one school, the boys went to another. So, but we didn't have what's called honours maths in our school. We did pass maths, which is kind of a lower level maths in the girls' school. But the boys' school did honours maths. But they allowed us, they adjusted the timetable to allow some of the girls to go to the boys' school for maths. And I was one of the 6 girls going to the boys' school for maths. And my maths teacher at the time, when I was 15, looked at me and said, Siobhán McClean, you will go over there and you won't have the gumption to come back. What she was telling me was, I'm going to fail, I won't succeed there, and I won't even have the courage to come back to the girls' school. And that brought out my stubborn streak. And I'm like, I'm going to prove this teacher wrong. And so, but all the time that little imposter syndrome is in my head, and I think, oh, I'm not really able to, I'm not going to achieve. But so my defining moment that overcame all of that was when I was working, actually having had my PhD, and I was working as a research scientist in industry. I had my first child and came back to this research lab in industry, and I had changed jobs. So while I was on maternity leave, the lab I was in, it was a pulmonary delivery lab that had closed, and they'd moved to gut delivery, so developing ways of delivering drugs through the GI tract, through the gut. And so I changed labs, I was put in a new lab, and I had a new boss, and he was an incredible mentor. So what he did for me was he pushed me forward. He gave me opportunities, gave me the confidence. No, Siobhán, you can do this. Absolutely, you'll go and you will give this talk. You can do this. And he gave me the chance to explore my own creativity and to come up with my own ideas. That was really the first time that I'd been given that opportunity, and it was incredible. And that's had an impact on me as a mentor. I like to try and give opportunities to other people, and I think it's actually one of the most critical things in mentorship of scientists in general, but I think particular women scientists.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing your background story, and I really admire how many challenges that you faced. Some of them where you had to solve a problem or treat some sick people, or these kind of stories actually really help shape who we are. For more challenges that we face, it really gives an addition to who we are. I would like now to hear from the Jordania side, starting with Dr. Amal Al-Omari, Chief Scientist Officer at the King Hussein Cancer Center, KHCC, who holds a PhD in Clinical Pharmaceutical Sciences from the University of Iowa, USA, with over 25 years of experience spanning pharmaceutical R&D, academia, oncology research, and research administration. She also promotes and leads international collaborations to enhance research capacity, infrastructure, and training. Doctora.
Good morning. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to be part of this distinguished panel to talk about women contribution and achievements in STEM. So if I would think about like a defining moment or what actually shaped my future career in STEM, this would take me back to my childhood. So I'm a pharmacist by training, but I was raised in a family of pharmacists. Both my parents and 3 of my siblings are actually pharmacists. My mother, who's, God bless her, she's now 81, turning 82 this summer, was among the first generation of pharmacists in Palestine. So actually science and education, especially for women, for females, was embraced so strongly in our household. The budget was open for books. So we can ask for as many books as we wanted to read. That was my mother's encouragement for us to read and read. And one of the earliest books I read when I was about 12 years old was about Marie Curie, the scientist and the Nobel laureate, who was the first woman scientist to win a Nobel Prize, and the only woman to date to win the Nobel Prize twice. And I was absolutely fascinated by her groundbreaking discoveries and her contributions to science, and then later on to cancer treatment. So I knew early on, even as a child, that I wanted to follow a similar path. Now, with the pharmacy gene running strong in my DNA, I pursued pharmacy school. But I knew that I wanted, deep in my heart, I wanted to be a future scientist. And that actually shaped my future career decisions and taking me to cancer research, translational sciences, and research leadership. Now, if I would think about how my focus shifted to oncology, then I have to think about my graduate years at the University of Iowa. So, you know, as part of our training during the first semester, they asked us to rotate between different research labs. And I was immediately attracted by the work that was ongoing in the lab of Dr. DJ Omari, who was working to uncover genetic and pharmacokinetic predictors to cancer therapy in an attempt to explain variability between different patients and ideally arrive at the hopes of personalized cancer medicine. So there I was in that lab for the next 4 years of my life, interacting closely with cancer patients enrolled in clinical trials, collecting samples, analyzing them in the lab, and trying to answer questions of why some patients survived while others succumbed to disease. So actually, beyond science and lab work, what actually truly shaped my commitment to this field was the interaction with cancer patients, seeing the profound impact that cancer had not only on patients, but also on their loved ones, on their families, on their communities, and witnessing firsthand that profound impact on human lives actually fueled my determination to contribute to the arsenal of weapons against cancer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's very inspiring because we had this previous conversation of how loving research would actually fuel everything that you do, especially at the KHCC. Now, I would like to hear from Ms. Valentina Kassisieh, who's a Jordanian social activist and CEO of the Hameed Shoman Foundation, HSF, since 2013. She has transformed the HSF into a hub for cultural, scientific, and social innovation, launching programs like the Shoman Music Program, Cultural Days, and Social Innovation Award. Valentina also serves on boards of supporting cultural heritage, entrepreneurship, and conservation, including the Bethany Project for Royal Society and the Conservation of Nature. She also holds an Eisenhower Fellowship and Masters in Management Studies. Welcome.
Thank you.
Ahlan wa sahlan.
Well, my story is different, and I am not a scientist, okay? But I started when I was a child loving technology. I've never had a doll in my life. It was always robots. I like to fix things at the house. And I like to fix things in the house, electricity, etc. So that was my passion. And thus I studied computer science at the beginning and continued my education in MIS. I did focus on artificial intelligence. At that time, it wasn't like this artificial intelligence. It wasn't generative artificial intelligence. It was yet the beginning of artificial intelligence. But my passion stayed with social sciences. It's social, working with individuals. When I joined the Hameed Shoman Foundation in 2013, where we have the first Arab Award for Arab scientists and a fund for scientific research, I noticed that there is limited number of females who join or apply to this award, although it's been there since 1978. This award, and few women apply to our research fund. And this is where I thought, okay, we need to focus on more on women in this field, in the research field, how we can encourage them, and not just when they are at at the research level after their studies, but also we need to tackle it from childhood. And we need to start from young children, not just telling them what is research, but making it in a creative way and up the ladder. So this is how things started. So I am completely different than the rest, but I believe so much in science and technology, and I have a passion for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, we should never forget also the other half of the name of this event, and increase our creativity, which is actually completing all what STEM is all about. And I would like just to summarize the first round by saying, to see how similar we really are. We're all humans. We're facing challenges, whether on career level, political level, social level, and then we try to overcome it by becoming better and better to improve inclusivity and diversity. So thank you so much for sharing all of your defining moments. Moving on to the women role in STEM and workforce challenges, I would like to ask you again, please, about the advocacy for women in STEM as a significant part of your career. What strategies have you found most effective in promoting inclusivity and representation in scientific fields?
I think the first thing is to be a role model, to be seen, to be there, to show people that we are there, we can succeed, we can be the presidents of the universities, we can be the ambassadors, we can be social scientists coming from a very STEM background. We can be the leaders in society for change in terms of medication and in terms of how we actually integrate with people and interact with people. And I think that is one of the key things. I think mentorship, as Helen mentioned, is so critical. And I think that having formalized mentorship is something that we should have, because I do believe in equality for all. So I do think that we have to have this for everyone. Some people realize or are lucky to have mentors in their lives, and others then don't, and they go through life without realizing that this support is actually there, because they don't ask for it. You kind of say, oh, well, I can't ask that person for help. So they don't realize it's actually there. So I think that that's what I try and do. You know, anytime I have somebody, and my own PhD student, for example, when she came to Ireland first, she was from India. My second PhD student actually, but when she came to Ireland, she was very nervous, and giving presentations was not something she really wanted to do. So I mentored her through the whole process, as you do as a mentor as a PI for your PhD student. And again, she went on to actually excel in this field and win, again with her papers, win some awards, because she was supported. And I think that support should be there for everyone, regardless of gender. But it should be there particularly for women, because I think we will not ask. A lot of men are kind of brought up, maybe, I don't know, to ask for that help, but women will not ask. So I think that was the first thing, and always to support women in what they want to do. So if they want to change their direction into something more social, I support them. I support them if they want to go deeper into science, and to provide those role models and that actual, how do I put it, that actual pathway, or that motorway, if you like, towards success, because sometimes we don't see it. I know I didn't see it, and I thought I had to have a straight run through in academia without any deviations, and that I would only get to where I am now by going through a certain pathway, until somebody told me, a mentor told me as part of a program I was on, no, go do something, do anything that interests you, do whatever interests you, and you will get you'll get there, but through a different route. And that's exactly what I did. So I actually went into registry and into the policy side of things, and out of, shall we say, the normal academia roles for a time, and then came back into the research role. And all of that learning brought me to where I am, but I always advocate for women. And I think the very important thing is, from a young age, we have to have the outreach programs, we have to reach out there and ensure that everybody is aware of what we do, because most people don't actually know what scientists do, despite the fact that pure science is in their hand every single day.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we do so much in it, they still don't know what we actually do. So that's where I try and get the advocacy for science and for women in science through my work.
Thank you. And I would like to focus, actually focus on the fact that you mentioned being a role model actually puts a larger amount of responsibility. I remember working under the management of women several times throughout my career, and I'm so thankful that I learned many lessons from somebody who's more detail-oriented than any man who would ever manage me, you know. So I'm really thankful for that. And thank you for your guidance, SETU, and Professor Wejdan. I learn every day. And I'm so thankful for that. Professor Roche, let's highlight the gender disparity that often exists in leadership roles with STEM. What advice would you offer women aspiring to take these roles, and how can they overcome systematic barriers?
I think there are wonderful opportunities for women in science. About 2 years ago, I was the Vice President for Research and Innovation and Impact at University College Dublin, which was a huge job. And the only reason why I applied for a job was that somebody said to me that a colleague, did happen to be a man, he's going for it. And then I thought, why wouldn't I? And I actually was quite overcome that I had the opportunity to take that leadership role. And that leadership role was very enjoyable because of all the people that we met. And there was a huge amount of outreach, and it was understanding diversity of thought. That is where universities are. And that is what universities need to nurture, because we need to clash ideas sometimes. And, you know, women and men think about problems in very different ways, and you actually need that, because some people are mathematical, other people see it pictorially, and it's only that integration. But personally, I have been very lucky because all colleagues have worked together, and it is that collaborative link really which is hugely important.
Thank you. And I actually stood a little bit when you mentioned the clashing ideas together, which is a very healthy kind of brainstorm that should happen between you know, someone who would like to overcome the barriers systematically and put a roadmap for themselves.
Yes,
I
I think
would like to add something.
maybe I meant to say, formalizing career development plans for young researchers, because actually STEM, it's a very rocky career path, whether you're a man or a woman. And so developing those career paths for young faculty really is very important, because it makes sure that they get enough of the scientific support, but then also get an opportunity to take leadership roles in certain areas, and then people can decide which part of the STEM community you want to be part of.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Asking Professor McClean, how do you think STEM can, or how can this STEM community better support young women balancing the demands of a STEM career with a personal and family life?
Okay, yes, that's an interesting question. As a mother of three, well, they were children, they're adults now, and they've survived. They've survived my STEM career. So I think it's very, very important on a lot of levels. So I think one of the best things that we can do for women, and what they're trying to balance everything, is to offer flexibility. So it's very, very important when women do try to juggle a lot. They're juggling their careers, they're juggling looking after children. And I think for employers, the best thing they can offer is flexibility and an understanding of the time constraints that are on women. Because most women that get to our level, for all, I think probably all the women in the room here, we're hardworking. We're conscientious, and we probably always have a little bit of guilt in our heads that we're not doing the best we can do in everything we try to do. So I think employers should offer flexibility as much as possible to support that process. And the other thing I think that's important is, as someone who runs a team of men and women, I always stress that family is important, but also forums like this are very important. And flexibility, as I said, is important. But the other thing that's important for me is I am a role model for my kids. I have a daughter of 27 and a daughter of 25 and a son of 20. And I feel I'm a very strong role model, particularly for my two daughters. And I feel that they will hopefully achieve in their careers because they see what I've tried to do and they have survived.
I would connect what you said with Dr. Kavanagh when she mentioned being a role model. Even though having this flexibility between family life and STEM career is almost impossible, it takes a lot of effort. But at the end of the day, when your children sees you as a role model, I think it's sometimes worth it to see the final outcome of it. Thank you so much, دكتورة عمري. هون راح أكون مستفز شوي. In your research and overseeing research at KHCC, how do you address challenges related to underrepresentation of women in research if it exists, based on your opinion? And what advice do you have for aspiring women scientists?
Maybe the answer will surprise you.
Okay.
Because I think at King Hussein Cancer Center, we are lucky and proud that we have an environment that empower women. I'm here as an example,
Yes.
right? So actually at King Hussein Cancer Center, women are not just staff members, they are leaders in healthcare and in research. And I can give you examples by numbers. So under the Office of Scientific Affairs and Research, the office that I lead, the majority of our staff is female. When we recruit, I put extra effort to find males to add to my team to establish some sort of
So it's the other way
gender
around.
balance.
Okay.
And even in other governing councils and bodies in the center, for example, the Executive Council, the Medical Board, or the Research Council, which is the body which governs research at the center, there is a profound representation of women leaders, approaching approximately half of the members. So I think maybe this is like opposite to what you expected. However, I still recognize and acknowledge that underrepresentation of women in research leadership is a challenge that persists in institutions worldwide. And to tackle this, I think we need multifaceted approaches. First, we need to cultivate an inclusive culture. So for example, at KHCC, women have equal opportunities for access to leadership training, research opportunities, decision-making opportunities, and having their work being visible. Also, providing mentorship. I know that in my career, mentorship was pivotal, and as the colleagues mentioned, it's really important to have the right mentors and to serve as role models for others. Because I believe even my journey, my story that I shared with you is a testament to the power of early inspiration and to the importance of a strong woman leader that can actually shape the future of next generation scientists. Also, I think having the right, as also the colleagues mentioned, having the right policies there that support and foster flexible working hours, having also the maternal leaves and in addition to the maternal leaves, and having a child care facility on site, which we do have actually at King Hussein Cancer Center. This can a lot ease the burden of working mothers. So I hope that this was a good enough answer to you.
Thank you so much. And I would also re-mention that policies should be supportive as well. And that's a very important aspect of your answer. Thank you so much. Moving to Ms. Kassisieh, from your perspective as a leader in cultural and scientific innovation, and since you love robots, what initiatives could bridge the gap or the gender gap in STEM fields in Jordan and beyond?
Well,
yeah, it's working.
Definitely, we need to start with schools.
Schools.
We need to change the way we teach at schools. Instead of just memorizing what we do, it has to be hands-on with experience, trials, and include STEM not just in the science and math, but also in arts, in the social sciences classes. So this is something very important. Definitely, we need role models. You rarely hear about female role models in Jordan. You hear mostly about male role models. Even role models in Jordan, we don't have that role model thing, but we should do it and focus a lot on the females. We have around 27 universities in Jordan, if not more. How many female presidents? We have 3 or 4. We need to change that. We also need to, although our females do very well in school and they do very well at universities, we have more than 50%, maybe 56% of females at university level, more than males. But still, bridging that into the workplace, this is where we have the gap, and mostly everyone mentioned how we can do that. But first, we need to start with schools. We need to also universities to give more opportunities to females at universities. For example, like they mentioned, networks, mentorship. These are essential. Scholarships focused on females. Specific funding for female-led projects, incubators for females. These are essential tools that would bridge the gap. And of course, we need on the upper level, the policy level. You see mostly when you look at every committee for a policy, either it's mostly males or 99% males. We need to have more women on the policy level in Jordan. Now look at the committee for technology that we have in Jordan. Do we have a female in it? This is very important to look into, and we women should fight for that too. We should mention it in every time, in every meeting, in every committee, and we need to fight. Women, we have very strong women in Jordan. Here, we have ministers, we have the lady who is behind all our fintech is here in Jordan, so we do have very strong women, but we need that also more on the policy level.
And you actually, it's interesting because you connected that with the cultural root of having the definition of what role model is. And if we want to change that culturally, then we have to start with schools, as you mentioned. And education is the engine for prosperity. What other better place to start other than schools? I absolutely agree with you. Before moving on to our last category, which is creativity in STEM, I would like to remind that I'm going to open a small question and answer session with the panelists. Asking Dr. Kavanagh again, creativity is often overlooked and in discussion about STEM. And we previously had discussion about what creativity really means when we talk about STEM. How has creativity played a role in your work, and how can it be encouraged in education and professional environments?
Firstly, I think that normally when we think of creativity, we have a very narrow definition of creativity. We think it must be artistic, it must be poetic, it must be literature, it must be in music, it must be in art. Every single scientist is creative. Everyone, the minute they go in a lab, the first thing they think of is, what can I create? What can I change? What can I do? They are so creative that, again, they've come up with this.
Yes.
Without our engineers and scientists who actually developed the phone, for example, CERN, our big laboratory in Switzerland, is responsible for the World Wide Web. Without those people in CERN, computer scientists and physicists working together and engineers collaboratively, without those, we wouldn't have a World Wide Web. We would not be able to access information the way we have. We would not have been able to get AI to the level it has. When you think of medical advances, I see a future where one day somebody who at the minute has spinal injuries and can't walk, is in a wheelchair, will have just a suit. Just like anyone here, will just have a neoprene type of suit and they will be able to walk. That's creative as far as I'm concerned. And I just want to pick up as well on Valentina. In Ireland, we've had similar problems with our leadership, senior women positions, etc. And we have joined our statistics together and come up with very innovative solutions to actually promote women in leadership. And we've gone from 19% in senior leadership positions in higher education in 2016 to now up to 30%. And just that cultural, to be actually responsive to your cultural environment is so important. And culturally responsiveness is what we do in schools. So again, a group of innovative women came up with a project to actually work with schools to embed, as you said, STEM into primary schools and into the subjects that are already there. Because so often we come in and say, oh, here's another initiative to teachers who are already doing so much. Whereas this embeds it in the school, looks at the arts, looks at how we integrate STEM, and makes it part, using robots, to actually get all children, male and female, working together on projects which make robots move around the place, and they program without even thinking, because their objective is a social objective rather than a scientific objective. So I think it's more of that kind of innovation and that mix that we need to bring us forward to the next stages where we get equality and where we have that true gender equality in education and our innovative processes. Because without the 50% of women in the room, we're not going to get to the best solution. And that's been proven.
Thank you. It's interesting to also highlight the importance of curriculum design, since you mentioned putting STEM into our early education. Sometimes, maybe because I'm a curriculum developer myself, I see it relatively easier than teaching in a creative way, teaching what's inside the curriculum for students in a creative way that would make them enjoy it and love it. I would like to hear from Professor Roche. What do you think?
I think there are wonderful tools and technologies that we can introduce to our young people. In Ireland, we have a number of transition year programs where the transition year students would be about 15, 16. And we would have designed, we being a lot of colleagues at University College Dublin, a transition year program where we train PhD students to go out to school teachers, both in schools that are at high socioeconomic level, but also lower socioeconomic level. And it's very important that we empower all of these people, because all of the kids, they are so bright and they come up with such good ideas. All you need to do is actually provide them with the very simple tools. And then it is the universities really have a responsibility to empower those teachers in what we call DESH schools, which are socially disadvantaged schools. When I was Vice President for Research, Innovation and Impact, there are two parts of the role. It's the research and it's the innovation. We did a survey of who were the best innovators. And it was all the students which came from minority ethnic groups and also social groups. They had a much greater drive and vision and need for success. And they outstripped the traditional Irish students by approximately 75%. So all you have to do is provide the resources for young people, because they have the energy. Mm-hmm. And if you put all that energy into the room, also if you put data scientists in with kids who enjoy biology, because biology moves, it's all about data now. Climate, sustainability, it's all about data. It's about physical sciences and then those data sciences. And because they're so tech savvy, that's bread and butter. Very simple, very translational, but you just create the forum where they can have those interactions, and then they see success and they enjoy the success.
Amazing. I would totally relate to the fact that universities have role as well, because at PSUT we do have these several programs with multiple school students, giving them tools and teaching them the principles of AI, cybersecurity, and to see how effective and beautiful the impact is, it's really magnificent. So I totally agree. Thank you so much, Professor McClean. And creativity and STEM, how do you see them together?
I think anyone in STEM is naturally creative. I think that's one of the reasons we're in STEM, and even those who think they're not in STEM, they're also naturally creative. So it's something that's inherent, I think, in us all. And so for me, being creative is very, very important. I was faced with a problem. We were working on bacteria that were really, really resistant to antibiotics. And so antibiotics aren't doing what they're supposed to do. And so we had to think about a different way. So antibiotics aren't working. Can we do something to prevent these bacteria causing infections? And there's very little known about the bacteria we were working with at the time. So I had to come up with a completely different way of identifying potential vaccine candidates that would allow us to prevent infection against these bacteria. And it's a very, our group, or my lab in UCD, we're the only people who do this particular way of identifying vaccine antigens. So I think and it's just something, you're faced with a problem, you have to think outside the box and come up with a very, I'm going to say, weird way of identifying vaccine antigens. But I think creativity is something that can be nurtured, as well as it being, and we all have a level of creativity, but it can be enhanced. And in UCD we have a wonderful I'm going to call them team or a unit called the UCD Innovation Academy. And students have access to that academy, but also staff members have that access to the academy. And so I did what was called an entrepreneurial educator program with them. And it taught us a design thinking approach to facing problems. And we were supposed to apply it particularly to education and to teaching of students. But in fact, that design thinking approach I was able to apply to bring back to my research group, and it's actually part of what we do. And it makes you, again, encourage you to think outside the box. It gives you these very unusual challenges, and you have to think outside the box to try and achieve your goal. And so the UCD Innovation Academy was a fantastic initiative for, as I say, building on and enhancing the innate creativity that's in us all.
And in relation to your career, vaccines are actually in demand in a global scale and critical. Can you share a moment where you've been put under pressure, especially in COVID-19? I read some reports saying that not a single team around the world was not working on developing some formula to try to keep up with the race of breaking this lockdown. What do you have in this?
So absolutely, you're singing my song here. Vaccines are probably one of the most important initiatives ever in public health, other than clean water. They've been the biggest advance. So from me personally, the biggest challenge is we have fantastic vaccine antigens that are very good at protecting mice from bacteria. I'm not a big fan of mice. I want to get vaccines into humans, and so that is a big challenge, that to go from the lab to getting into humans. And the important thing then is having people in your environment who say, yes, this is a good idea, you should progress this idea, and giving you tools and supports to it's a large chasm or gap that you have to bridge. So yes, and I think that's, as you said, the people who are working on vaccines right across the world. We were at a position when the COVID outbreak happened that there were a lot of technologies that were almost ready to go, that might have actually been still in this chasm or gap if it wasn't for the fact that we needed something and we needed it now. Yeah. And thankfully, we it really, really has helped us overcome this awful pandemic.
And I firmly believe when you're put under pressure, sometimes you have to come up with the most creative solutions to come out of it. Yes, true. Dr. Omari, Dr. Amal, where do you see creativity and STEM through the scope of research and your experience?
Sure. Actually, I don't see that creativity can be separable from STEM. I think creativity is like the driving force behind innovation in STEM. Even in what we do overseeing research at KHCC, creativity is essential, not only in laboratory work, but also in how we design our studies, how we solve complex healthcare problems, how we foster collaborations across disciplines. Actually, research in its core is about asking new questions, novel questions, and thinking outside the box, outside the conventional boundaries, to try to find novel solutions and to help the patients. And even when we design clinical trials and in cancer research, that creativity is how scientists develop novel, innovative therapies to patients, or rethink conventional treatment approaches, or personalize treatment for the individual patient. Also, we have to think about creativity when we combine technologies such as AI and machine learning and data science with the medical field, trying to improve patients' lives. Actually, I think this is really very important in education and in professional training, to try to foster this cross-disciplinary or interdisciplinary thinking, because probably some of the greatest scientific discoveries happen when we combine ideas from different fields. Somehow we feel that engineers and mathematicians live in a world that is parallel to the world where medical doctors and physicians and healthcare providers live. And if we try to bridge this gap between these two worlds and start talking together, I'm sure that some creative, innovative solutions will be available to help patients and improve cancer care. Not only actually cancer care, but also the way we deliver cancer care. I think these new technologies hold great promise in that area. So I think actually science is not only about the technical knowledge, it's also about imagining what's possible. So again, the phone, which Helen, Yvonne mentioned, that we have technology in our hands that nobody imagined like a few decades ago that would be available to everyone. So imagination is really, really important in science and in STEM. And when we foster creativity, I'm sure that we open the door to groundbreaking discoveries that can bring progress and scientific advancements to everyone.
Thank you. And since you mentioned the example of phone, and who would have imagined that we have the technology today that never existed before? I'm so tired of following up with AI tools because DeepSeek came over just when we just mastered the other generative AI tools. And you are totally correct, actually, about something else, which is interdisciplinary studies. I always emphasize and encourage my students to learn something about technology in addition to finance, which is fintech nowadays. Or do you know where do you go from being a junior level senior and then master? Do you know what's next? They say no. I say you become international. And that's where you have to aim for, to connect between multiple fields and multiple scientific studies. Okay, last but not least, Valentina, creativity and STEM, especially from your scope of culture, which is very important.
Definitely, creativity is the cornerstone of innovation and STEM because it fuels the breakthroughs, as everyone said. Well, I'm lucky at our foundation is that we connect science, culture, and community impact. And through creativity, like when we design programs that focus on curiosity or provide funding for research on transformative change of something, or when we create spaces for artistic imagination, etc. All of these give you a different look into a fresh outlook into the challenge that you have, how you can use imagination and creativity. Also, when we fund programs, we focus on the programs that are creative with technology or with science, with STEM, especially in sustainability, in cultural preservation or education. A lot of our programs that we have funded and we are very proud of are the e-books and learning alphabets in Arabic, reading in Arabic through online and tools that you use that are very fun and creative. So instigating curiosity is very important for children and for adults. All our programs have this imagination or curiosity aspect in it. And Einstein once said, imagination, then imagination, then imagination. If you can't imagine, you cannot see what, you cannot come up with new solutions or look at problems for another perspective. So creativity is essential, and not just creativity in programs, but also, for example, in our workplace, we offer colleagues to collaborate together from different teams, from different departments. We provide them the tools to come up with solutions, creative solutions for challenges that we are facing internally in the organization. We have something called internal innovation or institutional innovation. So they come, this is very important, to be creative also in the workplace, to be creative, as I mentioned before, in schools. We have programs for teachers how to use different tools in teaching, like how to be creative in delivering, let's say, the math or the science through tools that are creative, that use in the arts class. And or we have also a program, Young Innovators Lab, where we use science as a tool for critical thinking, to teach children critical thinking, to teach them collaboration, to teach them empathy. And they come up at the end of this one-year program with actually projects that some of them we have a registered IP for them, and they are ages 10 to 13. So this is how we use creativity and STEM together to come up with solutions and critical thinking. Critical thinking is essential. Thank you.
Thank you. The workshops that you mentioned in Shoman Foundation are really unique. I've been able to read about some of them, and I like the element of gamification that you implement in there. And the experience that you shared reminded me of when Barack Obama attempted to add R&A to STEM. It became STREAM. But I don't remember what the R stands for, but A is for arts.
Yes.
And eventually, I think they will be coming and blending together, art and science and technology.
Yeah. But I wanted to add something. Also, we use a lot, or not use, we are helped by university students. So we, with these children, yani, we open the door for university students from this STEM fields to come and join this training program, and it had made a big difference. They tell us that 4 years at university is like 1 year with this program. So it opened our eyes to creativity that we never felt before when working in this program. So.
And that's how I learned from some of your workshops that our students actually participated effectively in them, and they reported many beautiful outcomes out of these workshops. So thank you so much for the 3 wonderful rounds of questions. I would like now to turn the microphone to our audience. If anybody would like to ask any question, I would please to mention your name, where do you work, and if the question is directed to one of our panelists or to all of them, please mention that. شباب تساعدوني بس نقل الميكروفون لو تكرمت. Yes. Mr. One.
Sabah al-Khair. Thank you for your inspiring talks. And it's very impressive that you're talking about education. And coming from the field, I'm Rowan Batarse, Director of Innovation at Amal Baccalaureate School. And coming from the field, I would like to just raise the issue of the challenge that we have. We offer lots of things. We collaborate with PSUT, Dr. Adiy. We have lots of programs that we offer to our students. And I'm sure you've noticed the girls' interest is not as much as we want. We could offer it. We offered a drone program, for example. I got just 1 or 2 girls. At some levels, we don't have enough girls. So going back to the mindset, addressing the idea of the mindset, how do girls see themselves in STEM? How can they contribute? And we know they're academically high achievers. We know the top students are in our school. Many of them are girls. But when it comes to them, like putting themselves into some work, even with Jordan Young Scientists, we contributed with 2 teams before, and both teams were boys. So maybe this is something we need to think of as educators. How would you, and I'm not, anyone can contribute, how would you think we need to change that specifically in the Middle East, or how would we change that in our everyday life in schools? Thank you so much.
Yes, go ahead, Professor.
From our experience, a lot of work has been done in terms of looking at young girls' attitudes towards STEM, and your challenge is not unique to Jordan. And indeed, there was surveys of 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds in terms of what they see, and their thoughts and perceptions were skewed because of even the toys that they were provided with. If you take the example of, say, Lego as a toy, making pink Lego made a huge difference in terms of the types of toys that children can play with. I think there's a great second level program going on here, but it really, in terms of programs on the television, social media, it's the way that young girls see themselves, and that reprogramming starts very early. And of course, children will have natural affinities to what they're passionate about. I was passionate about nutrition. You want to make sure that those who are passionate and have a natural affinity towards maths, engineering, computer science, have the opportunity and see the vision. But I do think using technology such as phones, iPads, and toys, but it's that play part of things that children need to be, particularly female children, those exposures need to be broadened.
I'll just add, sorry, The Joys is such a brilliant initiative. I mean, it brings the students together from all over Jordan, and it has been so successful in Ireland, and the students that enter are so innovative in themselves. In fact, 60% in Ireland are girls who actually enter the competition, the groups. But I think they need that encouragement. They need to be told, 60% are women, why don't you join as well? Why don't you try it? You will have a great time if you actually get engaged and actually go to the competition and meet others like you. So I think at a fundamental level, because yes, we've had the exact same problems, and by the time girls are 12, they're turned off STEM. They're also very pragmatic, and their time management skills are amazing. So they have to see that there's a benefit for them in doing this as well. So I think that it's that you just have to look at the mindset and look what you're dealing with and actually encourage the girls. I think that's what we try and do in SETU, for example, you know, when we're reaching out to secondary schools and that, we try and encourage the girls as well as the boys to enter the competitions such as the BT Young Scientist or SciFest. We have another science festival as well, which is for the regions, shall we say. And we really do encourage the girls to actually come forward. And when you do, I think they do.
Okay, thank you. Before moving on to the next question, Ahmed, you can take the microphone. Oh, sure, Siti. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I've just come back from Qatar, where I was taking part in a conversation about the importance of dual language in international schools. And one of the things which really, you know, there was a big call there for making Arabic a universal language in education programs. And we realized that it's, and then maybe I'm speaking not just about women, but I'm speaking in general now about education. Before we can even, in our part of the world and in Jordan, I think we're maybe more advanced than some other Arab countries, but we still have a long way to go in terms of developing the Arabic content to be able to make it more attractive. When you think only 6% of the content out there on the internet is in Arabic and only 3% has been accessed by a 400 million population or speakers who are able to get there, then you realize how much work we still have to do. So a lot of our Arabic content is in religion, in linguistics, in history, but we still haven't even developed a lot of the terminologies in science and technology that would be needed to make it more inspiring. So I think there's an onus on us as universities and as schools to do that. But that said, when it comes to making girls become more interested in science, I think, yeah, I agree with Valentina. We need role models, and role models are so important. But more so, I think it's when it becomes contextual. And when you can solve problems that impact you every single day. So if you're talking about nutrition, then of course, you know, that would be of more impact maybe on women. But at the same time, it's just like, you know, talking to different gender-related subjects, which give people these stigmas. And so pink Lego in one world might work, and then in another people will say we're being patronizing if we give people pink Lego. So these are there's so many components to the conversation that have to be taken into account, and I just wanted to mention that. But I think yeah, for Arabic language speaking countries, we've got a long way to go. And you compare us to Japan and Korea, for example, where they have been successful in making Japanese and Korean vocabularies to support. So I know that if at the ABS, for example, my school, if I were suddenly to say to the parents, actually, who are always our biggest challenge, if I were to say to parents in grades 9, 10, 11, and 12 that actually we're going to start teaching maths and science in Arabic, they would have there would be an uproar there, because they would say, well, how will our students be accepted at international universities? So, you know, we've still got a lot to think about before we can even go further, and a lot of homework for all of us to do.
Indeed. Thank you, Siti, for the insightful input. I do believe that words have energy and power in them. So focusing also in terminologies that we use in our early curriculum is really, really important. Thank you so much, Siti. We have بس عشان أعمل سكان إذا ممكن تسمحي لي أروح لجهات مختلفة. أوكي. هناك أحمد. In the meantime, you reminded me of University of North Carolina. When they conducted the research, they put microphones in small rooms where kids playing there, and they provided the data for public. You listen to the recordings of small male kids. You all hear just screaming, yelling, and excitement, and etc. And when the room where there's female kids, you hear stories. She brings, toys and make this toy talk to this toy, and etc. So I think I like so much the idea of pink Lego or any color that is commonly admired by girls to put into Lego is one good step for that. Yes. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Hibad Abbas and I work at Microsoft.
بس ممكن تعلي صوتك شوي
Okay, this is Hibad Abbas and I work at Microsoft. And I have a question for Valentina, and maybe it's an idea with the amazing work that Abdul Shoman Foundation is doing, and being at a great institute like Princess Sumaya. You've all spoken about the importance of mentorship, and how can we have a solid approach to that, whether at students at schools, universities, and maybe at for women like myself at work. Yeah. So maybe we can come up with a scalable program where we have some corporate social responsibility from certain companies in Jordan that we commit to a mentorship program for students in the universities and so on. And with maybe Ireland being a hub for the great business, the global business happening in Dublin, and I've been there last year. I think also maybe a global mentoring program happening at a different level can also add lots of value and bring the right role models for the great skills that we have for women here in Jordan. Just a thought.
Thank you. You directed to Ms. Valentina, right? Yes.
That's a very good idea. If it was made for university students, but I'd like to tell you that I am part of a network in Jordan called IWF, and we do a lot of mentorship to other females in different sectors. But it's worth thinking of not just for students, actually. Even us females in the workplace, sometimes we need to think with each other and support each other and mentor each other. Maybe sometimes we feel shy to ask for mentorship, but it's an excellent idea, and I'll speak to you about it and see how we can look into it, both the students and the university here can also help us, Siti and Dr. Wejdan. I think we can start like a pilot together maybe, and we can look into how we can replicate it to other universities if how it comes out.
I sit on the board of Women in Tech, Bahrain and Global. I'm happy to run an event in Jordan. We usually run events in Dubai and France and in Bahrain and across the GCC. So we'd be happy to sponsor the entire event here in Princess Sumaya to help mentor women and get them into the business. I sit on the board of Women in Tech and on the board of Princess Sumaya, and I'm the founder of CoinMina, a crypto exchange, and I always try to support women in business. But it really starts at home. And that's what I realized in interviews, that women are really interested to join the business. But as soon as they go back and they consult with their parents or their spouses, there isn't a lot of support there, so they come back and reject offers to join, because to their families this is not something that is traditional, they're familiar with. So traditions, religion, and cultural aspects are all to be taken into consideration for women in this side of the region when they want to take a step forward. But happy to do so, happy to align after the event and run the event here in Princess Sumaya University. Thank you.
If I remember correctly, اسمها سمعان. دينا سمعان. أهلا وسهلا فيكي. كان في سؤال عندك علاء هناك. Before the question, please, one comment. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to take the audience's time, but your points are very, very relevant and very, pertinent to this situation. But what you need to do is you need to make sure that it's sort of, that the women who are developed, it just takes time because it's a cultural element. Mm-hmm. And right in 2 years, it may take you 2 years to get two full professors. Like when I joined UCD, there were very few full professors who were females. There was myself and one other colleague in a whole big faculty. And it is our responsibility to make sure that that pathway is actually open to other people. So you actively, like at the moment, female colleagues don't necessarily go for promotion. So it's that you actively seek out junior colleagues who are brilliant, and you write that application with them. And like as I said previously, I had mentors, and they were men who helped me through interviews, through things. So it has to be an incentivized but very practical element, and you can't be in a position of leadership without that responsibility, and it's a huge responsibility. But then that's why women naturally are more critical thinkers. True. They think, which is actually a great value. But you have to just sort of say, look, give it a whirl. It's a process of elimination. You just fail fast. That is not failure, that's success. It's a process of elimination.
Yes, sure.
Sorry, can I just add one thing there too? We, as I said, have this computational thinking program, SETU, and some colleagues in DCU as well. We brought that to primary schools. That's where you start the change. You start the change right there, where they work together. They say, oh, the girls are innovative. Oh, yes, no difference. I'm innovative, they're innovative, move on. So then the culture gets changed at home. So it's that kind of change in attitude, because yes, the same thing we found back in 2014, I think it was, when there was a survey done in Ireland. The main people that actually influence the choice of careers of students and of anybody are parents. So essentially, unless you go to the parents, which, the way that means that they can see that their girls are successful at school and they are able to do this, and they're actually got an attitude for it or an aptitude for it, then they will be able to see that this is progression for them, and it is progression for the family, and it is actually good for themselves. So I think that starts there too. So it's both sides. I mean, definitely, and Ireland did do both sides. We tackled both types, shall we say. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dina, for the input. Moving to the next question.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rua. I work at ABS, Amman Baccalaureate School. I've been working as a science and biology teacher.
لا الاسم مرة ثانية.
Rua.
أهلا وسهلا فيك. لا شغل تفضلي.
Okay. So I have some additions. So if you allow me, first, R is for reading and comprehension in the stream. And the other thing is, when we're talking about, if you allow me, can I add something on the title of this session? If it was the impact of women in STEM and creative inquiries in the time of AI. So I'm more concerned as an educator in a school about how AI nowadays is affecting the creativity and inquiry of students. Our students nowadays, instead of searching like we used to do, finding resources on a button press, they can write 3,000 words of a lab report, of something called internal assessment in the IB. So what is the role of women in finding research that enables us as educators at that early age of education, as women also, to tackle such a big issue? So this is my concern. I loved everything you highlighted. So my other question is how a role model looks like in this time of AI. Is she a teacher who is good with AI, who has the better tools to tackle education through AI, or is it the old traditional version of the female? So this is what I'd like to be enlightened about. Thank you.
I like this so much, really. Yeah.
I think what we need to do is embrace AI, because it's a wonderful, powerful tool which we're all learning about. And initially, some of the universities tried to block the use. Now, that was very naive, because again, young people are very creative. And a colleague of mine who's in the School of Public Health, she actually ran an assessment wherein the students were asked to use AI as a tool to develop a review for any particular subject. And then she actually worked through the results of the AI output. And then the students began to learn, actually, that's not a real reference, or this. So both together, the teacher and the students learned together in terms of both the assets and the limitations of the tool. In terms of data processing, we've done studies that it took 18 months to do the high, integrating genomes with sort of dietary patterns. Now that can be done probably in 2 weeks. So there are pros and cons, and we're all learning, and I think we just have to embrace it. But it's all, it's a process. It's all about integrity, really, in terms of AI. But it's here, so we need to use it as a tool. Also, in terms of language and conversion, that's going to make it so much easier, so that we can translate, and you can protect that culture, because Arabic, it's a beautiful language, and even just the script is beautiful, and that is hugely important in terms of protecting your culture, because it's hugely important. But that's one great advantage that you could use it for. So you just have to embrace it. Also, we're reverting back to traditional ways of communication. So now students, rather than being 75% for the written piece and 25 for the presentation, it's 25 for the written and it's 75 for the presentation.
Yes. Yeah.
So it will take less time to get it done, and it will be more efficient. And you can spend your time on something
minding your kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
So work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. After hearing from you, I'll go back to Dr.
Yeah,
Kavanagh.
I just wanted to add a little bit, not much, but just a little bit. We were having like a discussion about this, like AI and how it's like come strongly into our words, and what's the biggest risks of AI, and like the colleagues were coming up with all different risks. Confidentiality, privacy, students will be more lazy, it will be more difficult to differentiate between the good student and the bad student, the hard worker and the lazy student. And guess what? I think like the biggest, like our colleague mentioned, the biggest risk of AI is not to use AI, actually. Because it's not artificial intelligence, it's augmented intelligence. Yes. So I totally believe that artificial intelligence fails big time without human intelligence. And we've tried it in so many different projects. It makes our lives a lot smoother, easier. Things can be done faster, but if you don't put your human intelligence, the outcome is rubbish, actually. So we've done it. I have one of our colleagues here in the audience, and we know how it helped us a lot, but you have to put your human input into whatever it generates in order to have the product that you are looking for. And actually for schoolwork, there are a lot of tools now to detect AI generative tools results. So you can put the limit to how much should like your students to use it. And it happened with my daughter. She had her first MUN last semester. She's 14 only. And she said that their statement, if it's developed using AI, they will get a 0 score, actually. They were allowed like 0% usage on AI. But I know other schools that allow 30% or 40%. Even journals, scientific journals now allow some percentage of using AI tools. Because they're there to help us, actually, not to be a threat to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I remind everyone we were scared from Google, and we were scared from social media.
Scared from the calculator. Yes?
Yeah, calculator. things will keep on getting more technology, and it's faster than what we think. If we don't use it, we'll be old school and lost generation, so we have to use it.
If I can pass the mic to Dr. Kavanagh, please.
You said what I was going to say. The books, way back when, you know, computers came along, books were dead, and when television came along, books were dead. We're never going to read a book again. We see where we are. Humans need to be innovative. We need to change things. If you have rubbish in, you have rubbish out. We've seen that with AI. I'm also on the National Academic Integrity Network in Ireland, so you can imagine when ChatGPT came along, it was, shall we say, crisis moment. But again, we knew we had to embrace it because this is where the world is going. We could stay stationary and be back in the olden times, but they are now the olden times. AI is here, it's here to stay, it's here to be used. And as everybody said, we use it with caution and we ensure that it is actually looked at in a certain way. However, when you're a teacher at the coalface, students still need to be able to read and write and to be able to learn. They still need to be able to do those critical thinking skills. Because if they're not, then we have problems with AI. As we've seen with different things that come out, they have to be able to test facts now. They cannot rely on facts. They have to be able to test them. So I think that that's where we have to be, embracing AI in a particular way, making sure that they critically analyse every single thing that comes out. So if it comes from AI, they have to look at it and make sure it's true. And we need to get that culture into their minds. Not, oh, I can put in a 3,000-word essay. That was the first thing, of course, that everybody was saying. The essays are gone now. But they're not, because of the composition, because of the way you approach it, and because of how you actually, what you actually want from an essay. Anybody can write 3,000 words on something. It may not make a lot of sense, but anybody can do it. It's what you want the students. So we've got this AI cubed, we call it. So it's assessment integrity, because that's the key for education. It's with artificial intelligence and looking at academic integrity being the thing that we want to make sure that people do their work. And whatever work they do, whether with AI or without, that we can stand over it and say, yes, they learned. Because learning is our focus. Academic integrity, assessment integrity, and artificial intelligence. So integrating the three, and that was from Sarah Eaton in Australia, just so that I get the reference in there. So thank you.
But would you see it's changing the definition of creative inquiries? The presence of AI, would we have a new definition of it?
In some respects, yes, and in some respects, no. I think that it's not going to change creative inquiry, because when the computer can do it, then it's really just, it's creating whatever it skims from the internet. It's just putting together a load of thoughts. We still have to be the creative force in that creation. So whether it's art, whatever it is, because now you can get a Picasso in 2 minutes, you know, of yourself if you wish. So that's not really creative and innovative. That's just something that's just being produced, I would say, rather than created. It's production, and we have to think of AI as producing, not creating. You know, we're the ones that create. We're the ones that created AI.
Are we ready? Do we see that we're ready to do so at this point?
I think what we have to do as educators is we have to adapt and become more creative to try and stay ahead of the game. So what humans have done throughout evolution is we've always adapted to what's come our way. So I think we have to adapt. It'll put us under pressure, but I think we can and we will adapt to this.
I need to add something, is that you have to be creative. For example, ChatGPT, you have to be creative in putting the prompts, creative prompts, to get what you want. And let me remind you, I said at the beginning, in 97, I was studying artificial intelligence. So 97 until now, almost 20 years. Imagine, and that was yet still in the labs, okay? When it was out, we saw this. What's in the lab now is much more advanced. That will come out in 10 years, maybe, or few years. And if we are not ready and did not accept it, we will be a lost generation. So we have to accept it, and we have to adapt to it, and we have to use it.
Yeah.
It's a must to learn how to use it.
Thank you. Just to take out two main points from the discussion. First, to keep the human as a main benchmark for AI. And the second is what Dr. Amal mentioned. It was used to be augmented intelligence until John McCarthy came over and called it artificial intelligence. So it's meant to be supportive, not replacive. It can't be replacive. I hope that would not happen.
There are advanced AI tools now
Right.
that can block. It can find a way where you won't know that this is AI generated. So it's that advanced now. So you can have an AI generated research and find another tool to make it not look AI generated.
Actually,
Absolutely.
may I say
And,
something? Actually, when Her Highness had this World Science Conference at the Dead Sea, I asked a question to one of the panelists, and I told her, when will we see robots with feelings? And she said, that lady said, it's already in the lab.
Already in the making, yes, yes. As you mentioned, it's a whole different conference, but thank you so much for opening this door. It's really important. I probably can take in the last 6 minutes one last question, especially from the middle, this area. I haven't heard anything. All is good? Sorry, on the back. Ahmed, shukran.
Hi everyone, thank you. This is Layan. I'm a proud graduate of Princess Sumaya. Probably my question will be more personal because Dr. Adiy, you've started with a personal question on what was a defining moment. My question will be to all of the panelists, what would you have done differently? Looking back, just a very personal question, not related to anything, just out of curiosity. Thank you.
Thank you. If there is anything that you've done differently.
Start with you first.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have changed anything. I love what I do, and I love working with people. So I don't think I would have wanted to change anything. Maybe add more technology in what I do, but with children, more technology. But other than that, no, I don't think I want to change anything.
And that was exactly what I was going to say. I wouldn't change a thing. I've often, the path, if I had seen myself at 15, I would never see where I am now. So my path to where I am now has been not straight. It's been, but I wouldn't change one thing. I've often done things. I've kind of had a different path to being a professor because I worked in industry, and then I started kind of later in life in academia. But I would not change one thing. Everything I did in my career has formed me and molded me as I am. And I actually love that I work with. I feel very privileged that I work with fantastic young people with brilliant minds, and I get the opportunity to work with them and enjoy their creativity and see them succeed and see them thrive. I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay, Dr. Amal.
I think I have the very similar answer. I wouldn't change a thing, but looking back, maybe I would embrace challenges more, because all of us went through bumpy roads. Like the road in science is really bumpy, and a lot of challenges you encounter, and you think it's a failure, it's the end, and then you find solutions because it's a creative word, and then you keep going. But actually, when you are in the middle of the challenge, you think it's the end. But then, when you arrive, you get to understand that the challenges is your opportunity for growth. And that's what I actually always lecture for my team. Growth happens outside your comfort zone. So you have to embrace challenges as your opportunities to grow, and actually seek mentors who challenge you. A good mentor inspires you, advocate for you, guide you, but an excellent mentor is the one who challenged you. Yeah. Those are the best, believe me. Challenges is how you grow, how you reach what you aspire for.
Thank you. Professor Roche?
To tell you the truth, I would change. I would learn. If I was starting out now, I would start more with data, for sure. I had a biological, clinical training. I think change is very important. I think it's very important for you to change lanes very, about every 5 years during your career. And the reason for that is so that you stay fresh. You see things from different perspectives, and then you can embrace other opportunities. That change may suit you for a little while, and it may not, but it's extra experience, and then that gives you more. Universities are it's diversity of thought, and you need to learn and put yourself into different situations. So I actually think that the more change and opportunities that you take, the better, and change lane.
My career was very varied, bumpy along the way, just like everybody else. But there are a few things I would change. Number one, the biggest advice I would give to anybody is, as was said here before by everybody more or less, your destination is not what you think it is now. It's going to change, and you should change with it. Don't keep focused on just a direct path. It doesn't happen. As Helen was saying, change roles, change very different things, and have fun. Have fun is one of the most important things. If you don't have fun,
Absolutely.
You're not doing it right. But the big thing, I think, to support that is mentors. If I had known that you could go and get mentorship, it was great when I was in industry. When I was in the US and in industry, perfect. It was role models, it was mentors, everything was structured. In Ireland, we didn't have that. So I didn't appreciate that that was what they were doing, because it wasn't said to me, oh, this is mentorship and we are doing this with you. It was kind of, I just was the accidental person that went through this stuff. So I think having mentors and knowing that you can go to people and ask them, can you be my mentor, please, would have really changed my focus, shall we say, a lot earlier. I got to where I am, but a lot earlier I would have learned how to navigate the whole system rather than just kind of getting there by accident, shall we say. Thanks.
Thank you so much. With this, we seal this amazing panel, and I would like to thank our audience and the extended thousands of audience who joined us online. Thanks to Your Highness for your insightful input and for all the questions, and for our panelists. One more round of applause. Here I was the coordinator of this one. My name is Adiy Tweissi, and thank you so much for listening to us. Dr. Sufyan, yours. Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody, Your Royal Highness, Your Excellencies, respected guests, for this actually amazing, wonderful event. I learned a lot from the discussion. Very interesting ideas and inspiring. So thank you very much for being here at PSUT. And now we will have a quick, I guess, coffee break. If you can join us, please, outside. Thank you very much.